Hello, 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 and welcome to Build Stuff 2021, and welcome to the Saturn stage, the sixth planet from the sun with those glorious wings. We have an awesome lineup of speakers available to you today. Going to be talking about some amazing technologies and amazing ways of actually producing our software. And in order to get started as soon as possible, I would like to welcome Francesco Strazzullo to the stage.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, how are you doing?
Quite fine today. Yeah, it's quite rainy here in Italy, but I feel fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're joining us from where today, sorry?
Treviso in the north of Italy. It's 15 minutes from Venice, from my home.
Oh, awesome. I adore Italy. It's been too long since I've visited. It's after COVID, first place we've got to go back to.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I don't want to take too much of your time this morning, so I'm sure we'll have a chat when you're done. But please, the stage is yours and take it away.
Thank you. And welcome everybody to this talk called Strategic Testing Decisions. Before we start, let me introduce myself. I'm Francesco Strazzullo, and I am a partner and a senior full stack developer at Flowing. Flowing is a remote first and remote only software developer company in Italy. And I'm also a consultant, author, and speaker. And if I should explain, my line of work is just help the development teams in making technical decisions. So if you are interested in this talk, in the strategic decision about testing, or more in general about decision making about software, just contact me on Twitter. You can see the handle in the slide. It's my direct messages are open, so feel free to contact me whatever you want. So why I'm here, or what this talk is about? Well, I would like to help you attendees to make mindful decisions about software testing. Software testing in general, but most importantly about automated testing. And I would like to help with automated testing because I see that testing is usually considered a dogma in software development. Okay, something like the Delta Triforce, something that can solve all the problems that you may have in software development. But in these years as a consultant, what I witnessed is that when you are in a complicated situation, when there is something that is not working, some CTO, some tech lead, they just say, okay, let's increase our coverage. Let's create more tests. And sometimes this stuff doesn't work at all. The situation is bad as was as before adding more tests. And this stuff make me think about it, is why this thing happens. And I think that in a nutshell, it's because there is no silver bullet. Okay, this is something that as engineers we know there cannot be a single technique, methodology, or language framework that can solve all the problems that we have or that we have in the future. So also testing is not a silver bullet. It can solve all the problems that you have in your code base. That said, what I would like to talk about you, it's about choosing between automated testing or manual testing for specific time of your project, or I will be a bit more extreme because I don't like dogma at all, as you can imagine from my previous slides, about testing and not testing at all for your code. Like I said, it sounds a bit extreme, but try to follow me in my reasoning about that. The first thing that I want to say is that it's not a black or white situation. Okay, it's of course, it's something that you can add more tests in the future. You can switch from manual testing to automatic test and so on. Okay, so it's more like a quadrant where you have to be during time. Okay, and I would like to help you with that. So my point is, okay, how can we choose the right testing strategy for a product? Okay, I try to answer this question from an engineering point of view. So what I've done is what is called a cost-benefit analysis. So I would like to analyze the costs of tests and also the benefits of tests. And as you can imagine, the benefits are quite easy to understand. So I started from the costs. What is the cost of testing? I'm not talking about measuring the actual cost of testing because it's it's a very stupid discussion, because you invest money in testing, but probably it will return from a maintenance point of view. I mean, what is the kind of cost that of testing? I reasoned about that a bit, and I think that testing is an opportunity cost. What I mean with opportunity cost? Well, when you're developing a project, you're working in a box. Okay, this box is constructed by deadlines, budget, team, stakeholders, market, whatever you want, but they are creating a cage around your project. So if you put something inside this box, something else must exit, because you can't do anything. Okay, it could be a new feature, it could be some user research, it could be some CI pipeline. Okay, the point is that nobody can do everything, because there always a limited budget. It could be also big, but it's not infinite. There is always a deadline. It could be not an hard deadline, but you can just keep building software forever without releasing it. And you have a team. You don't have infinite capacity when building something. So given these constraints, everything is an opportunity cost. Also testing. If you put testing inside your development project, something should exit. This is the kind of cost of testing. Of course, I'm not saying that you should not write tests because you don't want opportunity cost. Okay, this is a discussion that I can do only with senior developers. Okay, because a senior developer can mitigate, I can say, choose the right testing strategy without building bad code. Okay, testing is a tool also for junior developer to learn about writing good code. So this discussion is just about senior developer that know how to build good stuff in any case. But what I mean is that testing should be a leverage that we can use to solve other problems sometimes. So in a nutshell, what I mean is that testing is not free. It's not something that you can do everywhere. It's not something that you can do without thinking about the consequences. Okay, so we analyze the cost side of testing. So let's talk about the benefits of testing. I said it was easier, but I don't think it's not so a stupid question. What is a test? Let's go from a more generic point of view. I don't want to go to the dictionary to talk about the definition of test. I would like to go to a better source for this definition. Well, I really loved this interview from Kent Beck that you can see in the slide for Java Magazine. I think that he was talking about JUnit 5, if I remember correctly. And in this interview, he says that tests are just one form of feedback. And this was, it synced into me. The creator or this rediscoverer of test-driven development just said that tests are just one form of feedback. And it also said another interesting stuff that make my mind blow. It was that in some specific context, automated tests could not be the best way of feedback to implement. at first. And they talked about, for example, web development, front-end engineering, and stuff like that, because there is a lot of human contact with your software. So you can't automate everything. Okay, so test is equal to feedback, but the feedback about what? When we're talking about automated testing, we're asking for feedback about what in particular? In my opinion, automated test, every form of automated test, okay, from unit to end, is a feedback about correctness. What I mean with correctness, I mean is a non-functional requirement that means that the software is doing what is meant to be done by the software itself. So if I have a software that is a calculator, I can test that 2 and 2 is equal 4. Okay, this is the kind of test that I can automate. This is the kind of problem and the benefit that automated testing brings to the development team. But in the phrase, in the quote from Ken Beck, there is a most important part that it's almost just somebody that doesn't care, but it's just one form of feedback. And like I explained before, it's not always the best form of feedback that you need in the project. And this is what I was talking about at the beginning of the talk. When I was talking about do less tests because there could be a cost, this is what probably we are losing. If we concentrate on automated tests, we are going to lose, because of the opportunity cost, other forms of feedbacks. It's inevitable because of the budget, of the time, like I said before. So what are these other forms of feedbacks? Well, almost nobody, builds software because they just like to build software, okay? We build software because we need to maintain, we need to create new business. And market is the only real feedback to test new ideas. And I'm not talking about code, I'm talking about business in general. And I know, please keep the word market from with a broad scope, okay? Market is not just about actual paying user. If you are working for a nonprofit, you have a market also if they are not paying for you. If you are an open source community, you have a market. They are the developers. What I mean is that actual real people outside your company is the only real feedback that you really need to test new ideas. So I would like to rephrase this talk. The purpose of this talk is about making mindful decisions about software feedbacks, because tests are just one form of feedback. So I would like to broaden the scope of the discussion and talking about feedbacks. So the question is, are the tests the right form of feedback for your specific context? And with tests, I mean automated tests with all the kind of automated tests that you can imagine. Okay, this is a very long and complicated discussion because you need to build your context in order to use it to make decisions, okay? But I would like to try to explain everything with a simple slide. And I would like to use this chart, that is a visualization of the 3X model, always by Ken Beck. What Ken Beck says with the 3X model is that software, like everything else, has a life cycle, okay? And you can explain this life cycle with this two-axis chart with success and payload. And what it says that is during time, your software pass from an explore phase when you don't know if you have success or not, then after a while, your software could die, or your software could go in the expand phase. In the expand phase, you are building a market. So you are working on scale, you are scaling up, okay? You are looking for new customers, you are building new features, and you are growing in your market. After a while, you will go into the extract phase. In the extract phase, you reach market cap, okay? Your business is good to go, and you need to concentrate on automated processes and spend as less as much as possible. This is very, very important to understand in which phase your team is with your product or with your big feature, okay? This same process could also be applied to a new big feature that you want to implement into your project. For example, if you are a music streaming platform and you want to add podcast in the mix, the podcast feature is an explore phase at the beginning because you don't know if it will work, okay? So the same pattern, explore, expand, and extract, can be applied to a new product and also to new feature inside big product. I really love this photo about this strange bike because it explains also another concept from the 3X model. When Kent Beck introduced the 3X model, he talked about the product development triathlon. Why triathlon? Because in triathlon, you have 3 different phases, okay? If I remember correctly, sorry, but I'm not a sport guy, so I could just be wrong. But if I remember correctly, it's running, cycling, and swimming. And this says something that is quite interesting, is that if you use the wrong tool in the wrong phase, it's like swimming with a bicycle. This is the metaphor of the product development triathlon. If you are using a tool that is cool to use in the expand phase while you are in the explore phase, is like swimming with a bicycle, or if you're following this photo, is to cycle on a railroad, okay? I really don't know why somebody should use this specific bicycle, but you understand what I mean. It's not only unuseful, but it's also dangerous. Remember of opportunity cost. And this is very important to understand because in the explore phase, 90% of your code could be waste because you are exploring. You don't know what you will do in the next months. And what I mean with you don't know what you have to do is that don't trust long backlog, long planifications, okay? Long planning. Because what happens is that outside your company, outside your team, there is a world that changes very, very fast and a market that changes very, very fast. And so you need to ask feedback to the market in order to change your backlog, because there is an extreme probability that some of your code will be waste. And do you want to test it? That's the point. That's what Ken Beck said with one form of feedback and with the 3X model. There could be some part at the beginning of a project where you don't need actual automated testing as the most important thing. This is my personal view about testing in general, feedbacks in general, divided by the 3 phases of the 3X model. From the beginning, we are in the explore, given a specific amount of costs that we can invest in feedbacks. The most of that should be about real market. talking with real user with an actual product, so shipping as fast as possible. Then you need a good amount of manual testing with Q&A or somebody in your team, because manual testing is prone to error, but is helpful to see things from another point of view instead of a developer's point of view. And of course, you need a solid base of automated tests that needs to grow with time. As you can see, when you are in the expand, you are scaling up. The automatic and manual grow instead of market. And later, when you are in the struct phase, automatic tests should take the majority of your budget about feedbacks. So this is a schema of how you can say choose the right testing strategy based on the time or the life cycle of your project. It's not so easy to understand if you are in Explore or in Expand or in your Struct phase, but it's something that you need to talk with your team, with your product manager, and also with some C-level, okay? It needs an holistic view of the company to understand in which of the three phases you are with your team. I would like to do some consideration on Explore, okay? Because Explore is the most critical part, and this is the part where I'm saying that sometimes you can build less tests, less automated tests. And I would like to defend my position because I know that it's hard to listen that you can do less tests that you would like to, but I would like to fill the box that you saw in the beginning of the talk with other stuff that could be more useful to have before a very, very large suite of unit tests. So before talking about your coverage, you should have all this stuff covered in the first place. How to understand what to test? This is very important. How can you have to put a small effort on automated testing at the beginning, okay? So how can you choose what to test? Well, what I mean is that if you remember this slide, okay, you have a small automatic test, but I'm not saying in this slide what that test should cover. Well, I would like to use this expression when I'm helping teams in deciding what to test. Don't decide it up front, because sometimes it's easier to say, okay, just test the most important stuff. But what is the most important stuff? It's not so easy to understand before upfront. So what I say is that, okay, let evolution decide what you have to test. What I mean with evolution? Well, there is a pattern created by Dan North called spike and stabilize. Okay, it's quite strange as a pattern for a software developer team. And remember, everything that I'm talking about is for senior developers. Okay, so don't make a junior developer to work with spike and stabilize. But in a nutshell, what is spike and stabilize? Okay, when you create a feature and you are in the explore phase, you don't know if that feature will live in the same form that you decided in the first place. So you build it as a spike. You write it with a low level of quality of what we usually put things in production. You build it and you ship it. Then you wait. You ask for feedback from manual tester or real users. And after a while, if you are sure that the stuff is stable enough, you stabilize it. You refactor it, you put tests around it, and you write it in a good way. Some code will die, will never go to the stabilized phase, and you can just throw it away or write it from scratch with another spike, for example. You can go over with experimentation until you have some stable feature that you can test. So you testing only the survivors of this experimental process. How to quickly have a feedback from the market? Because I said that in the explore phase, we need a feedback from the market. Okay, how can I get that? Well, put everything in production now. We are in the cloud development era, so we can put stuff in production from day one. We can just work with Lambdas, we can just work with AWS or Azure stuff and services, and everything can be put in production from day one if you want. You don't need also complicated pipelines also whatsoever. There is also a very interesting discussion about what Gojko Adric, the creator of impact mapping, call walking skeleton on crutches, and he talk about serverless development. What is a walking skeleton? A walking skeleton is just a simple implementation of a complex architecture where every single piece of the architecture is simple, but they are connected together like real stuff. In this way, you can evolve your architecture and evolve your code contemporary, but with also separated team, for example. From this walking skeleton partner, there is a lot of variations. For example, there is the dancing skeleton partner, where you stress test your skeleton and you make it dance, for example. Or there is a walking skeleton on crutches that say, okay, you have a walking skeleton, just put the crutches on and let him walk in production with serverless. But what I mean is just a figurative way of speech to say, when you have something that is working, ask beta tester, ask whatever you want, but put it in production and ask for real feedback about your features. This is the only way to implement and spike and stabilize, because real people ask for modification, something is broken, and etc., etc. So what happens if something breaks? Okay, we are building something, deciding with a purpose that we want a very, very small automated coverage from testing. So something could break every moment. Apart from, panic, there is something that you can actually do, and for helping to make the fact that something is broken not so hard to solve. Not something that, oh my God, we have a bug in production, we need to fix it now. And I would like to introduce two main techniques. The first one is called Brueggemann deployment. And in a nutshell, you don't have development, staging, and production environment, but you have development, and then you have green and blue environment. And then you have a router in front of both of them. And then with the first commit, your production is the green one. On the second commit, your production is the blue one, and the staging is the previous version is a green, okay? And then the router change the production with just a configuration. What happens is that if something goes wrong with the production environment, the router automatically change on the other environment. So you don't have to fix anything. You have time to work, to solve anything, and to commit, because automatically you have a working version in production without manual intervention, okay? You can have, for example, I worked in a project where there was a Sentry license, where when there was a critical error, automatically the router switched to the other deployment, green or blue. In this way, you have time to work and to fix your bugs. So you don't need a very, very high level of maintainability. You don't need to be able to solve bugs in minutes. You have time because in production, everything is fine. Or another interesting pattern to test new ideas when you are in Explore and work something, you don't know if something is working, is to use the canary release. You have your user pool, okay? You have a router, and then you have your production version, your old version for the 90%, 95% of your user. And some users, you can call them experimental users, beta tester, people that want to willing trying canary release, just try the new version. And then you ask feedback to them if everything is working fine. If everything is working fine with the router, you just switch all the people to the new version and you go on with that, with every commit. In this way, we have solved a maintainability problem that we usually solve with automated testing. But this stuff, it helps in making also not just maintainability, but also in asking for feedback about real market and real users. How to reduce waste in general? Well, because we talked about that the explore phase is about the 90% of the code could be waste. So how can we reduce waste? A part of it could be it's inevitable because it's based on market or something that you cannot really predict. COVID, for example, okay? But there is something that a development team could do, or a software company could do, and is user research and prototyping. So, for example, some years ago, we helped a team. They have a very, very plan. They want to build a very cool new product. And then we say to them, are you sure that people want that product? Yes, we are sure. Okay, but you don't have enough money to make everything. So they invest with us a little money of their budget to do a prototype and user research, some landing pages, and they understood that people don't want everything, but just a specific part of that product. So we developed with the 10% of their ideas, and then the product was shipped and everything was fine. The company grows bigger in the later years. What I mean is that you can reduce waste if you ask for feedback even before starting building anything. And you can do that using user research, prototyping, and everything is about UX designer, UX research. As you may imagine, I really love to talk about decision making for software developers. So I decided to write a book called Decision Making for Software Developer Team. And I would like to share with Build Staff a discount code that you can find in the slides. And you are interested with Thomas Coperta, that is my editor. I also created a specific training session for helping people in making technical decision in a collaborative way. So that's all. And thank you very much, Bill Staff, for letting me talk about this topic that I really love.
Hi, thank you. That was an awesome presentation. It's the first thing that I really want to say is I adore your slides. I like anything made in Sketch.io anyway. I think it's just a really nice thing to look at. And those slides at the beginning just put a huge smile on my face. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
We have one question in the chat at the moment, and I've got a few things I'd like to ask as well. A question that we have in the chat is from Patrick Lorenz. I hope I pronounced your name right. If not, I apologize. And they ask, there is always pressure to build new features. How can you make sure that the tests get written eventually and you don't end up with a load of untested spikes?
I'm sorry, but there is only one solution, and it is discipline. Okay, it's you can also, if you want, I help the team in introducing spike and stabilize, and what I did was using a Kanban. Okay, we have to do, doing, to do, spike, spiked, waiting for feedback, stabilize it. So everything that survived should pass through a stabilized phase. If something dies, you just archive the element of the Kanban because it's not useful anymore. This could help, but the only thing that you really need is discipline in your team. So I was talking about senior developers, okay, when talking about spike and stabilize.
Yeah, I'm guessing you need to get the product owners on the same page as you for this as well, so that you don't have that pressure from outside from the product owners.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, it was I was subintended, but it's obvious. If you have pressure from outside and you are not on the same page about the importance on testing and feedbacks, this stuff could not work.
No, I can see right. That. It's I mean, personally, I've had experience with two different types of product owners. I've had the product owners that put the pressure on everything, and you have to learn how to not give them the stuff that could get dangerous in the future, because you just know nothing's going to happen. And the product owners that you know you can really work with, and you can get this stuff working fantastically. Some of the questions that I came up with whilst I was watching it. The first one for me is the Canary users. I love the idea of Canary users, but it's not something I've played with myself. How do you get that group? Because it's, for example, I use Windows Insider on my laptop. So I am a Canary tester for Microsoft. And I do that quite deliberately. If you've got Canary testers, do you always need to get them to do a deliberate opt-in, or can you also just put things to a group of testers and hope for the best?
You can do both. You can do, it depends. I did that in two different ways. And the first is just, okay, hope for the best. If you are just, not trying new feature, but you are building new stuffs, okay, you know that the error that you can introduce with just one commit, okay, it's not so important. So you can just do that randomly. When you are trying a new feature, what you can do is to actually search for Windows Insider people, okay? You can do that with, you can say, want to try this new feature, like, the dark mode of GitHub, if you want, or you can give some price to them. You can say, okay, you want 1 month of subscription, okay, become a beta tester. This happened in a startup that we helped some years ago. So you can ask, you can give something to people because they are giving something to you, okay? Their feedback is important to you. So you can, pay them in a way.
Yeah.
Then when you become like Microsoft or Google, that people want to try new stuff for you, okay, it's okay. But at the beginning, you need to, put something on the table to bring people on board.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one, it's not so much a question, it's more just a comment. It's I love what you were saying at the beginning about some of the dogma around it surrounding testing, especially with the code coverage metric. I'm going to say it's a personal, I absolutely hate that metric, because I've just seen way too often in the past that you can have code which is 100% green. It has amazing coverage, but none of the tests that are actually in there provide that confidence that you need to move forward. So actually it makes it a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Makes it quite a confusing metric. On the one hand, you've got this wonderful green thing, and on the other hand, you've still got things breaking that you thought weren't going to break.
Yeah, I think the same as you. What I mean is that it could be a useful metric in specific contexts, like, for example, a refactoring phase. Okay, you have a big bowl of mud. Okay, you need to fix stuff, and you can keep that as a measurement. But when you are building new stuff, you're just saying everything is working as it's cool, okay? But you don't know if you are successful. You are measuring efficiency, but not effectiveness. That's the point. As developer, we should start thinking about effectiveness, not just efficiency of our development processes.
Okay. Well, I think that's all the questions that I had. I see no more in the public channel, and looking at the time, we're pretty much out of time. So
Okay.
I want to thank you once again. And one last comment, that rail bike looked awesome. I cannot imagine what it's used for, but it is very cool. That's awesome work on finding that picture.
I found it on Wikipedia, but I can't find the usage of that specific bike. So I'm curious like you. Okay. And thank you, Bilsaf. It's amazing to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much.